Hello, I'm Sara BM Khan, curator and programs manager at ARAK Collection. My role primarily focuses on the day-to-day management of our fellowships program, mentoring them through their 6 to 10 months with the collection. This includes our curatorial fellows, our writing fellows, and I provide strategic support on our wider programs and engagement. I provide strategic support to our chief curator, Sven, and support to our founding collector, Mr. Abdulrahman Khalefi, and the ARAK team, which includes David Mann in publishing, our collections team based in Doha, and our advisory board made up of Heba, Tandazani, Ashraf, and Tembi. The motivating factors for me to join the ARAK team were twofold. One is connected to the intentions behind the collection. So I've been quite fortunate to be privy to the process of ARAK over the last couple of years while I was working in the South African art ecology. And I always find it's really a matter of intrigue as to why collection has started, why collector has chosen specific works, and seeing how the ARAK collection formulated, the intentions behind it, really aligned with my own ethos and values. And I think the focal point being the development of artistic practice, the support and advocacy of curatorial voices, critical voices, the opportunities that arise from this source collection were really a massive motivating factor for me to want to be a part of the team. I began writing and researching initially, and I've known the collector for a number of years, and I think the pure passion and dedication that was evident in his collecting process was really appealing to me. I wanted to be with an organization that at the heart of it had a complete dedication to artistic practice and advocacy for critical voices and for new and emerging curators and writers to be given the opportunity to grow. And the commercial aspect of the art ecology is really important. We need the art markets, we need art buyers, we need advocacy. But what's most important is how that is used and for what purpose. And I think a collection like ARAK is very, very key in looking at how we formulate art collections and for what purpose. And I think what has taken place is very exciting and something that I feel really proud to be a part of, in that we are not only building a wide and expansive collection, but at the same time providing resource and support for more voices and a wide variety of voices to exist in the global conversation about African art on the continent. My first impressions of the collection, other than being completely overwhelmed at the expanse and size of it, I was really impressed by how the artworks had been collected, that there really is a beginning and middle and end of these art practices. And that's not something you often see. You know, collections will have maybe a few pieces, and I think this is something really exciting and unique for researchers to really dig deep into, to be able to have this opportunity to look at a wide range of works from an artist, to be able to see the lifespan of how their works have developed. So that was really exciting for me. As I mentioned earlier, I began as a researcher and writer, and I still research and write for the collection. And coming across artists that had been involved in artistic practice for a while, but yet hadn't been perhaps given the opportunity or platform to present their work as much, was really quite exciting. I think as a curator and writer, you are always excited by engaging with new works and new conversations. I focus a lot on Sudanese artists, so that was really exciting for me to find them in the collection. Artists such as Noor Al-Hadi, Yasmin Abdullah, who haven't been as widely written about, but whose works really speak for themselves, and they have extensive artistic practice. So that has been really wonderful to just have the opportunity to really dig deep. I think our programs and our activities are really reflective of the importance of a collection like ARAK as a source of knowledge creation and creative production. And the programming really is focused on advocacy. And I think that's such a core part of the ethos of ARAK. I think having a collection in and of itself is great, but for it to just sit there and nobody has access to it, nobody knows what's happening, it's redundant. It really doesn't serve a purpose. And I think from the get-go, ARAK has had the mindset and the intention for this to be a hub for knowledge creation. And I think things like projects like our ARAK Collection book that is due to be released soon, our upcoming exhibitions, our writing workshops, our collaborations and partnerships. I think all of these are reflective of how ARAK intends to participate in the wider global discourse on African art. One of my favorite parts of working with the ARAK Collection really is working with the fellows. You learn so much from them, and I think it's really quite something to be part of a process where you get to observe and provide some level of support, but really get to observe a project from its inception to its execution and how that develops. I think one of the things that I have always felt was that we need a lot more of a variety of critical voices of different levels. You know, curators are not born, they are nurtured and they're developed. Writers are not just born, they're nurtured and developed. And these are skills that need to be nurtured and developed. And I think ARAK really provides that opportunity. And I think I speak for myself, and I'm sure I can speak for the advisory board and our wider team that work with the fellows as well. We really are humbled actually by the projects, because you really see something come to life from the perspective of a fellow practitioner, and the importance of having a wide variety of voices that you may not often hear, is really important to keep the playing field really fair and even. I think there are often voices that can dominate the art narrative, and so initiatives such as writing fellowships or writing workshops, writing fellowships, curatorial fellowships, allow for others to come to the front. The idea of having a quite expansive and unique African art collection in Doha may not immediately make a lot of sense to people, and I think that question immediately comes to mind, why? Why Doha? And I think it made complete sense to me for two reasons. One being that Doha is a rapidly developing art center, has been so for the last 10, 15 years or more. And I found Doha sort of came on the scene as a place that was unassuming, but full of so much curiosity. And I recall when the larger institutions like the Museum of Islamic Art were being built and the Matahaf Gallery, there was so much collecting and intrigue and curiosity and a real buzz around that. And I think that was evident at the time of what type of society the Qatari society is. And they are curious. They're curious about the world. And I think it made absolute sense for a collection like this to exist in Doha, because it is a place that has cultural institutions of a wide variety, and it is a crossroads to many places, and it is an important center. And I think advocacy is so important in the art world. You need advocates, you need patrons, and you need genuine interest and dedication. And I think that's something that I found in Doha. I've spent a few visits taking in the different exhibitions, and one thing I have found is that there is always something current taking place and something unique and interesting. So I think it makes complete sense that a collection like this exists, and particularly with what's happening in the neighboring countries. And it has a global perspective. The idea is to have cultural exchange, and I think it also helps us to revisit this idea of who should collect, why they collect, and how collections are built. Exciting upcoming events that audiences can keep an eye out for. Firstly, we had our first publication by Barnabas Teacher, who was one of our earlier fellows that has recently been published and will be available online for those of you that would like a copy. Secondly, we have a very exciting publication, which I mentioned earlier, a deep dive into the ARAK Collection, authored by renowned critic Ashraf Jamal, who's also on our advisory board. And lastly, we have an upcoming exhibition taking place in March in Shenzhen, China, and it will be exhibiting our 3 fellows from our